Hey everybody, we're live now. 2 1 2 1 2. Yeah, we're live. Hey everybody, and welcome to KoldTurkey. We're going to let a few people get on up in here. This is a really important live that we're doing tonight because there's some very serious topics. And tonight we've got two topics in general we're going to talk about. One is about the homeless deaths that have happened in Dublin and in Ireland since the beginning of January. We've got deaths of homeless people to report on. 38 people connected with homeless services died since January this year. We don't hear much reporting on that. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're also going to talk about the main topic tonight, when we've got more people up on in here. We're going to talk about the government's treachery, the Irish government's treachery. We're being sold out while this pandemic is happening, while this lockdown has been happening. Micheál Martin, Leo Varadkar have committed a treasonous act on the Irish people. They're selling out vast chunks of Irish land to foreign investors to build houses. They are purposely, allegedly, keeping the price down for housing, keeping the price of housing high, so that young Irish people are blocked out of this new housing market. It's a fucking disgrace what they're doing. And I'm going to call them out tonight. I've got all the receipts right here, and we're going to have a discussion about this, because this is some serious stuff. This is really serious. So we got 8 people in the live there. Feel free to comment as we go into this. Feel free to comment on anything that I'm saying here. I want to get a dialogue going here. It's very important. So I'm going to jump into it, first of all, by addressing these deaths that happened to the homeless people since January in Ireland here. Right, and first of all, just what brought me into this was one of the videos I did about the soup run. I was talking to Chris, from Liberty Soup Run, and he was sharing his dream of opening a centre to help people get reintegrated into life. And one of my subscribers, Deep Purple, made a comment going, you're talking about opening a treatment centre here. Do you not think there's enough treatment centres? What these guys need are their own place and not another religious institution. It's commendable what you're doing, fair play, but my idea, get these humans their own roof. Now, valid point. And I did say that. I said, I hear you, bro. But that was Chris's dream, to have a centre that would prepare people for integrating with society, because many of them have not only no home or structure, but they have addiction problems as well. And Deep Purple got back to me and said, most people want their own home, and that's a given. I believe that's where the energy should be directed. Any help is appreciated when you're down. There's ample centres for people with addiction issues. Why do you think we would need another one with a religious twist? And I don't know where he's coming from with the religious twist, because that wasn't certainly something I proposed. It's become a business. Here we go again. I admire anyone helping the homeless. It's not easy and sometimes thankless, but rewarding. Let's keep it where it's needed, on the ground. Okay, and I respectfully understand where he's coming from with that comment, because people want to see these people getting liberated, having their own place, not another centre and all this. It made sense on some level. But then I came across this article, and this is very important. And listen to this. At least 38 homeless people died from January to the end of March. That's 3 months. From January to the end of March this year, according to figures released by the Department of Housing to the journal.ie, where I'm taking this information from. The 38 people were known to the homeless services around the country, with 30 of the deaths happening within the Dublin area. 3 deaths occurred in Southwest, 2 in the Mid-East, and 1 in the Northeast, Southeast, and West. 3 of these people died on the streets, only 3. 11 died in supported housing, while 16 homeless people died in emergency hostels. Now, there's all the proof you need, if any, that what we do need, treatment centres. We need centres, homeless centres that have services. And that's the golden, that's the golden word there. Services have to be with them. There's no point in putting people into housing, people that have been living on the street and have no structure in their lives, and putting them into an apartment or a flat on their own without any support, and helping them get back up into life, to deal with their addictive issues, to look for employment, to get themselves together, to get themselves back on that ladder of normality that would give them some stability. Right, the journal reports that 3 of the people died on the streets. Yeah, 11 is what I read that out here. A spokesman for Focus Ireland told the online newspaper that targeted prevention services were needed urgently. These circumstances of any death are often complex, and respect must be shown to the deceased as well as the families who are grieving. We must do more to prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place by investing in targeted prevention services and also in mental health and rehab facilities, the Focus Ireland spokesperson said. Meanwhile, anyone who's homeless, whether they are rough sleeping or in emergency accommodation, needs quick access to the long-term stable accommodation with the appropriate wraparound support. 79 people died in the Dublin area alone in 2020, an increase of 30 deaths compared to 2019, while 2018 saw 47 homeless deaths. Now, in the first 3 months of this year, we have 38 homeless deaths. And it just shows us, because since the pandemic, the 2 years before, we had much less homelessness, but they've nearly almost tripled our homeless deaths since the pandemic, because of services that haven't been here, or that haven't been put in place, or that have been cut back on due to the pandemic. But we can't blame everything on the pandemic, and this is the point, you know. Anybody who's there in the live, feel free to say hello, just chime in, or if you just want to listen, because we'd like to get a discussion going here. The main topic of tonight, and I'm going to wait till I have a few more people up in here, is going to be about the Irish government's treachery and the sellout of Ireland, of our land and our children's future. As the Irish, we've always fought for our land. Our psyche and sense of self will change forever. We're being pillaged, and this government is turning a blind eye to this. How are young people supposed to get on the property ladder in this country when their own government is hindering them? Irish people are disillusioned with the greed culture. And you know, like, the definition of greed, as somebody pointed out to me earlier, is to want more than you need. And our government seems to be right behind these foreign investors, and they're putting the needs of the Irish people are being overlooked in favor of the wants of foreign investors. And this is tantamount to treason in this country, and nobody's calling it out, because it's all happening during this COVID, especially in the things have been hidden in the ton of information about this, the COVID, the vaccine, the lockdown, the economy. And meanwhile, all this is going on, and it's getting very little press, very little press. We're going to go in on this because, like I said, I've got the receipts here. There was a great article put in the Irish Times there, and Dr. Rory Hearn, the government does not want you to be able to afford your own home. And that comes from this man. Listen to some of this, guys. This is just facts that I have here. The public is right to be enraged and worried about the global investment funds buying up entire estates and apartment blocks. The homes are going to be rented out at inflated rents forever and will lock those out seeking to buy a home. The government has been called on to do something to stop this. Even Fianna Fáil politicians have come out crying crocodile tears of outrage. But the truth is, the investor purchase of housing in Ireland on a major scale is actually government policy and has been for the last decade. The government does not want you to be able to buy or rent an affordable home. They have created an unaffordable housing system that is focused on delivering housing as an investment asset and not a home. And this doctor goes on to say, I've been warning for years about this impending disaster that's embedding a permanent unaffordability onto our housing system and will cause an unprecedented inequality. Continuous bad policy. The current crisis has been brewing for a long time, and it goes back to the Celtic Tiger days of the late 1900s and the early 2000s, when the Fianna Fáil PD governments encouraged the shift from housing to be treated as a home to people buying it up as an investment asset. They told people to speculate in the property market, and they gave tax breaks to landlords to buy a second, a third home to rent out. These became the buy-to-let investors. The banks lent out massively, which added fuel to the fire of the rising prices, and the inevitable crash happened then in 2008. And their response to the disaster they had created, Fianna Fáil turned to global vulture funds to buy up the bad loans and failed housing projects. They set up the bad bank, NAMA, which went on under the Fine Gael government from 2011 to the current day to sell off at a discount huge land banks and millions of euros worth of properties to vulture and real estate investment funds of our land and our country. In 2013, the prices for houses had crashed and the rents were half of what they were today. Our housing system at that point was actually relatively affordable. For example, the average price of a home in 2013 in Dublin was 185,000 euros. In Kildare, it was 177,000. In Galway, 159. But what happened over the following years was government policy made these homes completely unaffordable. As the economy began to recover and rents and housing prices started rising, the government was called on to implement rent controls and to build social and affordable homes. But it has refused over and over to do this. And that's why we have this crisis that we're in right now. The government should be honest. This is why you can't afford to buy a rent or buy a home. Because for the last decade, the government has done everything possible to inflate house prices and rents in order to attract the global property investment funds and to recover the profitability and balance sheets for the banks. The government should be honest about this and stop pretending otherwise. For over a decade, it prioritized the interests of property finance developer, investors, landlords, all of those overlooking to get an affordable home. The policies over the last decade have doubled the price of a home in Dublin City, meaning you have to pay an additional 178 grand over what you would have paid in 2013. In Kildare, you have to pay an additional 114 for a home, and in South Dublin, the house prices have risen from 344 grand to 625 grand. And who are the winners? The banks and the investors. Rising prices benefit existing homeowners, but only if they're selling their home. And most of those same homeowners who think they are winning from the huge rise in house prices have children stuck as adults living at home because they can't afford to get a home. The average national monthly rent was 825 quid in 2013, while the average rent in Dublin was 1,148 a month. The rents were much more affordable. Now the monthly rent is 1,400, and in Dublin 1,900, almost 2 grand as a monthly rent. That's £500 a week. Some people are paying rent. That's a week's wages. It's even more than the minimum wage as a weekly wage. So you have a weekly, if you have a flat for 2,000 a month and you're on minimum wage, you're going to need to get supplementary welfare assistance because you're not going to be able to pay your rent even from your full wages, 100% of your wages. That is crazy. So the government policy, rather than a failure, has been a success in raising house prices and rents and selling off our homes to global investors and making bank profitable again. Housing policy was used as a tool to achieve this, and many house prices and rents are more unaffordable and has been an accepted consequence of Irish economy. Irish economic and housing policy. While they express their disappointment at evictions and say they're tackling homelessness, and while they say they're committed to home ownership, their policy is doing exactly the opposite. Their policy is creating homelessness. Their policy is making home ownership unaffordable. Irish governments have created an investor paradise for vulture and cuckoo funds through our housing and economic policy. It introduced the real estate investor tax back in 2012, and this is still in place. This means that the funds and the REITs buying up homes pay as little, if any, tax on the profits that they make. This is absolutely disgraceful. In 2012, the new Fine Gael Minister for Finance, Michael Noonan, said that the REIT framework was intended to facilitate the attraction of foreign investment capital into the Irish property market. He further argued that the acquisition and management of properties by professional REITs is part of a more sustainable long-term property rental market for both investors and property tenants. The Fine Gael lead governments from 2011 up to today's coalition with Fianna Fáil allowed rents to increase year after year. When the opposition proposed measures for rent control and rent freezes, the government ignored it up until eventually it put in place a 4% annual cap. But why did it not freeze rents or link it to inflation, meaning 1% of the annual increase? It is because 4% of the rate of return of investment funds. It is because 4% is the rate of return that the investment funds seek. This is absolutely crazy. When the homeless NGOs called for stronger protection for tenants from evictions and give them lifetime leases, the government said it wouldn't do it as it might affect the interest of investors in buying up property here. So somebody put forward our government to protect the tenants from evictions and to help give them lifetime leases. The government said it wouldn't do it as it affected the interest of investors buying property here. So our treasonous government was looking out for the foreign investors as opposed to its own citizens, which is in direct violation of our constitutional rights as laid out in our Irish Constitution. The easy eviction of tenants is an attractive feature of Irish property investment, as it means they can get in higher paying tenants or cash in their investments through a sale if needed. It gets even worse. From 2014 onwards, the government also changed from building social housing into getting social housing through paying rent to landlords, like the HAP scheme or long-term leasing. These schemes created an attractive, guaranteed income stream for investors. The real estate funds know if they buy up property in Ireland, and even if they can't afford, even if they can't find, private renters who can't afford the rent, the state will pay to rent it out or lease it. Another way housing policy entices these investors. Everything has been done here for the investor and nothing for the people. The investor buy-up of homes shows the folly of David McWilliams' idea of first-time buyers going on strike. They're stuck renting, stuck living in their parents' homes, and they need to secure affordable homes. If they do not buy a home, the investors will just buy up more and more. Just look at how much they've invested already. Private residential investors have invested more than 6.6 billion in the Irish residential market since 2011. Investors doubled their purchase of property over a lifetime of the government's Rebuilding Ireland plan, from 6,266 a year in 2016 to 12,378 in 2020, where investors bought a third of all homes purchased. Has that sank in yet, folks? Foreign investors, have bought 1/3 of all the homes purchased between in 2020. Wow, in 2020 only, foreign investors have bought 1/3 of all the homes that were on sale here in Ireland. And our government let that happen and actually encouraged it and twisted, bended and amended the laws to keep it safe for these investors They're looking out for these investors. What about the people of Ireland? What about the people of Ireland? What about our children? And what about our future? You're selling us out now to the Chinese, to the Americans, and to these foreign investment companies. And it's crazy, man. I didn't realize it was actually that bad, you know. But let's talk about solutions, guys. Let's talk about solutions. This is really important, right? And after that, we're going to get into a dialogue here. There are solutions. The investors have to be pushed back out of our housing system. This will make housing much more affordable. And there are many ways to do this immediately. The government could and should remove the real estate investment trust tax break. Why are we giving these guys tax breaks to come in and buy up our country? Come on. Implement a vacant homes tax. You got a home and it's vacant and lying there for a couple of years vacant, you pay tax on it. Why not? I agree. Introduce a property speculation tax in areas of high housing need and requiring new houses being offered for sale to be sold to home buyers first. It would set an allocation, example, 70% of new developments to be sold to home buyers. It should also immediately remove the ability of landlords to evict on sale of property or no-fault evictions. This would make housing less attractive to speculative investigators. See, as of now, a landlord wants to sell, he can throw you out if he wants to sell to make profit. And the investors love that. They love that. Oh, the Irish law is great. You can go in there and throw everybody out and then sell at a profit. And there's great tax breaks. This all has to stop. It all has to stop immediately. It's sinful what's going on, what our government's doing. And it's going over the head of most people. It went over my head. It went over my head till I just... I looked deeper and deeper into this and saw this is happening right here, right now. And the deception, I can't believe that the Irish government hasn't built one affordable housing unit in 10 years. Oh my God, let's see. Let's look into some solutions. Well, listen to this. Another demonstration of the state's reluctance to provide affordable housing is shown in how it still refuses to direct NAMA to build social and affordable homes. NAM has completely paid off all its debt, and it's now 100% state-owned. And yet it's still focused on flogging property and building high-end, unaffordable units to maximize a commercial return to the state. This is fucking sinful. Sinful. Shame on our government. Sons of bitches. Unreal, unreal. So they got NAMA there. It's owned by the state. And it has refused to ask them to build social affordable homes. Instead, it's doing the high ends. It's getting them to do high-end units, which are being sold to investors and maximizing a big commercial return for the state. And no doubt all the brown envelopes fired off from there, and everybody's getting a little bit of a backhander, because that's how this country goes, and we're all aware of it. We know how this country rolls, bro. We know how it rolls over here. Tomorrow, the government could direct NAMA to deliver 70,000 completely affordable units on its land, providing an entire housing supply needed for the country for the next 3 years. NAMA has 7,000 units under construction, construction ready, 8,600 in planning, and 10,000 in pre-planning. That's an entire year's supply of the country's housing needs. It still owns 747 hectares of residential development land, enough for 75,000 dwellings. Yet what is it doing? It's drip feeding housings for sale at expensive, unaffordable prices. Why on earth is it still pursuing a model of speculative development? The current trajectory of housing will mean inequality will worsen dramatically between those on extreme high incomes who can get a deposit off ma and dad to buy a home, or the majority of us still stuck in private and rental. Oh my God, this is just, it's just unreal, isn't it, when we look into this? Courage and creativity are needed. Just a shout out there to Peter Dunn, Emmanuel Godson. Peter saying this government makes me sick. Me too, bro. This is me too. And damn, Peter, you and Emmanuel agrees. And I agree too, guys. This is crazy what's going on. Courage and creativity are needed. Yes, they are. Something we don't have in our government here. The reality is that the interests of real estate investors and banking dominate housing policy and thinking. There is a reluctance on the part of our government to do anything significant that would disturb or disrupt the market and make house prices and rents actually affordable, because they haven't got the courage, they haven't got the vision, and they haven't got the creativity, and they haven't got the basic human compassion, and they haven't got the commitments to our own constitution, which says that none of us should be left without a home. That's my quick breakdown of it anyway. The government must accept that this policy and approach to promoting its private speculative market and global investors to supply housing is an utter failure. It does not provide affordable homes. So let's get that straight. The government has created an artificial scarcity of homes, which keeps prices and rents high by not providing a large supply of state-funded and building of public and affordable homes. The government, and this is facts, guys, listen to this, guys. The government didn't build one affordable home in the last 10 years. Let that sink in. Our government, in the midst of this horrific homeless crisis that we have at the moment, they haven't built one affordable housing unit in the last 10 years. And the manual's coming in there with, they haven't got the authority to do anything for themselves. We're ruled by foreign powers. Yeah, we are. We are. If our government are meandering to the whims of these foreign investors over the Irish people, what can we do? What can we do? We have a treasonous government in there. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, who got together just to keep Sinn Féin out. Sinn Féin, the majority chosen Sinn Féin, they didn't want them in there. So they got together, these two arch enemies got together just to keep Sinn Féin out. Well, I hope the next time, when we get, as Irish people, we get a chance to vote next time, we take care of these Micheál Martin and Leo Varadkar and all these people that have sold us and our children and our country down the river. The state must take responsibility for ensuring everyone in this country has an affordable, secure and decent standard home. It should use its huge state land bank and access to low-cost finance and build actually affordable homes on a major scale. It can do it. It has the resources. It's just not doing it. The not-for-profit affordable home builders, O'Cullahan, show it can be done. Right, the not-for-profit affordable home builders, O'Cullahan, show it can be done. O'Cullahan are a not-for-profit affordable home builder. And the current planned affordable and cost rental homes are drops in the ocean in comparison to the scale of what is required. Let's have a real honest conversation about this. It's time to treat housing as a home and human right, not an investment asset for the global wealthy. You know, guys, we have Deborah Byrne coming in there saying, not only are the vulture funds buying up new houses, but they're also buying repossessed homes from banks. There are so many mortgage arrears because of COVID, living in fear of becoming homeless. Absolutely. We have a crazy crisis on our hands at the moment. And it's even a lot worse than I thought myself. It's only since doing this channel and looking into it and talking to people on the ground and then to people in services, I got to see how much skullduggery is actually going on. And it goes all the way to our government. You see, what's really sad here is we're living in a time and in a situation with a problem that could be so easily fixed. And they choose not to do so. They choose to keep the prices unaffordable. It doesn't have to be that way. They choose to do that to get better investments, to get better, to make a better commercial deal with these investors that are coming in and buying up huge swathes of Irish land. You know, it's absolutely, it's our globalist. Emmanuel Godson says, Sinn Féin are globalists too, pro-open borders. Hey, you know, listen, there's something wrong with a whole lot of them on some level, but we need some social justice here. And I'm beginning to think Sinn Féin is the only one that would probably address this issue at the moment. Who knows? I believe owning a home is a human right. All new builds should be social housing. I absolutely agree with you. Until we address this homeless problem here, and it isn't even only homeless, guys. There's 30-year-olds living with their parents because they can't afford to rent. And they can't afford, and even those in minimum wage that are living in a bedsit and they're paying the majority of their wages just for their rent. It's absolutely terrible. It's unsustainable. The people have had enough of this nonsense, and there's going to be something done about it. There's got to be. I'm finding it really, really soul destroying that we would allow our government to do this right in our faces, all for the cause, all with the agenda of profit. Yeah, Emmanuel, I believe in owner home should be right. I don't believe people should become slaves for life to pay mortgages. No, they shouldn't. There's something very wrong with that, to be a slave to a mortgage. But more disconcerting for me right now is when I think and I see the homelessness out there, and I see the reluctance. Do you know the Lord Mayor? I was doing sorry, let me just jumped. I got a lot of thoughts I want to get out there, but I want to say this. Our Lord Mayor, went and visited the Liberty Soup run and had a photo opportunity down there and promised them the sun, moon and stars, that she would do this, she would do that. She won't take their calls now. It was all this just for the camera. The Taoiseach, Micheál Martin, was going to do this, that and the other for the Liberty Soup run as well. He also was just all talk. They use these situations for photo opportunities to get votes. Now our Lord Mayor is putting herself up for government. She's going to run for the seat in South Dublin Bay area. And I hope she doesn't get in, because she's going on the fact that she works tirelessly for the homeless. That's one of the things she's put, one of the bullet points she's put in her thing. But here she is. She won't take a call from a charity set up by normal people who are donating their own food out of their own, people in just barely above the poverty line, helping other people with no help from the government and just false promises. It's absolutely disgraceful. She's a steam. Emmanuel, I'm not sure. I don't know too much about this one. I'm looking into her at the moment because I'm going to call her out. And she's here to undermine Irish society. And I agree with you. Because I actually agree with that sentiment. She's undermining Irish society. Absolutely. That woman came down and had a look around this voluntary group that I was telling you about, the Liberty Soup Run. Great people from the Liberties doing their bit every night out helping the homeless. Chris and Fran, they put together a great team of about 30 volunteers. There's a great community spirit in the Liberties. These people helping. And they go all over Dublin. They don't just do the Liberties. They go all over the north side. They go out to Ballyfermot. You go down the canals, down to Leash Street, Henry Street, all up around there. And they feed people and give them tents and sleeping bags. They're doing what our government should be doing, what our government is supposed to be doing. These are normal people. I'll tell you, there's that man, Chris. He works 40 hours a week on a building site. He works hard. He comes home and he goes out for 5 or 6 hours to do the voluntary work he does. And those people, that Lord Mayor came down and she lied. She said, oh yeah, we're going to do this, that and the other. She promised them the sun, moon and stars. And now she won't answer their emails or take their phone calls. Why are we putting up with this? As Irish people, why are we putting up with it? Why? Irish race payer. Emmanuel, I get it. She's here to undermine Irish society. It seems that way. Right. And now she thinks she's going to flip out to the South Dublin Bay area and become a councillor and represent us. She's going to represent us. What does she know about us? She has no time for us. We're the real people here. She has no time for us. She's in the Mansion House now, working on her next campaign to get voted into government so she can sit there and vote on how the policies that are actually strangling and killing us as Irish citizens at the moment. She's going in. She wants to get in there. What's she going to change? What's she going to do? She couldn't even help a local charity. by giving them a shout out or answering the call to them. Come on, man. CCP, the Communist Party, I don't know, but it doesn't look good. I don't like, I think she's just, it's just typical. I know she's half Chinese and that, and I'm not going here from a race point. I'm not, but what does that woman know about us? Why is she Lord Mayor of Dublin? What does she know about the core of Dublin? What does she know about us, about our culture, about the way we are, about the way we help each other? She doesn't know. Why are we putting these people in to govern us? Why? Why don't we have someone like Chris or Fran, one of these men that started these voluntary work, that are real compassionate men that work from their heart and give from their heart and give without looking for anything back, doing it out of their love for their fellow men? Why don't we have one of them in government? We can do that by just saying no to these others, getting someone with character and spirit that wants to do something for the Irish people, and not picking these people, man, that these councillors, giving them these Lord Mayorships for a year and then setting them up in the Senate, or in the government, in the Dáil, for the rest of their life with their big fat checks. What are they? Don't know, and they're out of touch with the Irish people. The same as Leo Varadkar. I know he's Irish. It's not because he was foreign bred, but he's out of touch. In the same way, Micheál Martin, all these people are out of touch with the common Irish people. They're completely out of touch. Yeah, in her eyes, Emmanuel's saying there, and in her eyes, this is the Lord Mayor of Dublin. If you love the Irish people, you're a national racist scumbag. I heard a bit about this one, and there's Deep Purple coming in with every one of those sitting TDs are in bed with each other in big business. This is old news, Paul. Yes, it is, but you know what? I ain't seeing anybody talking about it in any media or any platform. Certainly our national media don't talk about it. We don't read this in the Irish Times. We don't read this in the Evening Herald. And if there's any mention, it's a small column about someone giving out about something. It's not in our psyche here. We need to talk about this. We need to stop this from developing. Guys, it's down on us as Irish people to be able to take the ball and run with it here. I mean, our country's been sold out from underneath us, and that's facts. And our Irish government have done nothing to address the homeless issue, no matter what they tell you. If you ask them anything, say, yeah, homelessness is now becoming our priority. What, just now? Didn't we not hear that before? Did anybody never hear that before? Homelessness has been a priority of this government for a long time. A long time. It's an absolute shame what's going on. And there's Peter coming in. Peter Dunn saying, it makes me so sad walking up Henry Street 10th after 10th. It's absolutely atrocious. And even down by the canals, Peter, you walk down into the canals from Charlemagne Street down to Bagot Street, you'll come across at least 15, 20 tents. And that's just on the canals. And there's all the little side streets in off there. Even Dawson Street, outside Starbucks, there was 2 or 3 tents there last week. It is very sad. It's very sad. And that homelessness is going on all the time. The thing is, during the pandemic, when we had lockdown, the tents stuck out like sore thumbs because you could see them. Because there was no one else on the street. You could see the homeless people. They were the ones walking around, wandering mindlessly because they had nowhere to go. Guys, this is a really, really important topic. Feel free to share this live and get this message out here. Comment, like, subscribe. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. Let's get a bit of strength on this platform. And let's start seeing if we can get some change in there to make some change. Change starts with the individual. It starts with us, with ourselves. It's very important, that we make our voices, that we unite and make our voices heard. And I'll do whatever I can. This is only a small platform. It's only a new platform. But I'll do whatever I can for a bit of social justice. I will, because I firmly believe that The government of this country is not on our side. It's not on our side. It's not for the people. It's for an agenda, a commercial agenda. The government of this country is not on our side. Anyway, guys, this has been Paulie T. This is Cold Turkey, and this is a bloody shame. This is a shame. It's a treasonous shame. Our government are selling this country from right beneath our feet. Well, I encourage us as Irish people to stick together, to unite, and to make sure our voices get heard. This is Paulie T. This is Cold Turkey. Sign now. Stay blessed, guys. And thank you for everybody who watched the live. Thank you.